Chapter 3, Railway Operations Smaller Scale Contingency. Smaller scale contingency, SSCs, are small scale contingency, encompasses a wide range of the joint and multiple nation military operations that fall between the major theater war and a peacetime military engagement. While not all inclusive, all Marine forces are committed to the small scale contingency, protect the Army and likes and interests, social supports political initiative, facility diplomacy, promote the fundamental American ideals, disrupt the illegal activities, as is the MTW, the Major Theater War, and the JFC assigns the supporting relationships to components of the joint forces to best accomplish the mission. The role of the rail unit. The rail monitors provide the technical assistance to operation of the host nation railroad system. The railway unit's assistance may include the providing the resupply of the U.S. forces to actual operation of the rail system, maintain credibility of the host government. The unconventional operations are predominantly military national are characterized with extensive use of unorthodox tactics conducted with irregular forces. The most potent weapon of the type of the force is surprise. Rail personnel, especially terrain crews and those outlying points, must stay alert on all times in the case of an attack. Rail personnel as small stations, yards, and engine houses, and maintenance of the way detachments along with the line of the line of the road, it must also stay alert. Sabotage, consistent vigilance is necessary to prevent the reducing the sabotage. Sabotage is willfully attacked intended to the aid of the enemy by destroying, impeding, and interpreting any force of the function. Some actions sabotage, including placing sand of the cigar journal boxes and water and fuel tanks, voltages, and machine gearboxes, identifying the acts of the sabotage are not using any conventional operation. But the effects of the same. The effects of the acts are don't secretly making the most. They're more difficult to prevent. Inspection trains frequently concealed sabotager guerrillas who make off the air hoses and train lines to force an emergency stop within the guerrillas to wait to the act. The tonnage can be handled with the locomotive brakes and operating trains without the air brakes. Rules of the type of sabotage. Objectives: Level 1 and Level 2. Level 1 and 2 threat operations most commonly use the fire explosive against the railway lines, installation of disrupting train and traffic, conducting their operations to perform the following: destroy bridges, tunnels, destroy track or derailments and wrecks, destroy buildings and shops and terminal facilities, destroy communications and power lines. Destroy locomotives, rolling stock, capture them, destroy equipment and supplies, capture weapons and ammunition, especially critical items of their primary objectives. They must be either on the hands of the using personnel or properly secured at all times. Capture personnel and inflict personnel casualties. Defense measures. The military planning includes the possibility of frequent continuing military action, special warfare occurring during the LIC. The chapter outlines some of the conditions which may encounter, but some of the methods of rail personnel may be adopted with the counteract tactics. Irregular forces designing the train to wreck trains, derail train movements. The type of defense that may be used varies. The local conditions, degrees of isolation, proximity of the other troops, so forth. Experience show the aggressive acts can considerably damaged despite of the apparently foolproof security measures. Trip wire, sentry dogs, barbed wire, landmines, similar measures give some protection against surprise. Guidelines defer to depending on the circumstance of attack of the geographical area which occurs. The hard, fast rules cannot be made. When unconventional forces attempt to derail, wreck a train, the rail operations maintenance personnel must attempt to forestall it by suitable countermeasures. A plan and any countermeasure can be considered mentally on the enemy. The changing the physical characteristics of the particular line or terrain. The plan must always flexible and change frequently as condition warrant. The attack on the right-of-way, irregular forces possessing minimum arms or explosives may concentrate their efforts of draining, derailing, wrecking. In many instances, the primary goal of stealing and pillaging supply of the ammunition after the wreck occurs. Delay may secondary. Both of those be accomplished simultaneously. Direct train's action must be directed against the train switchers, ballasts, and bridges along with the right-of-way. The track. Tampering with the track fastening in simplest way to cause the derailment, removing enough of the spikes from the rails which will cause the spread under the weight of the locomotive for the buffer of the cars. Removing nuts and bolts from the joint of the bars is another method of causing rails to spread. Causing continuous welding rail lessens the danger of the rails spreading. But it is doubtful that the type of the rail will be found in many undeveloped areas. Ordinary track tools enough to pull the spikes and loosen the joint bars. To make the work of the saboteur more difficult, joint bars have sometimes welded into place and track spikes have been tacked and welded into the rails. The consistent denial of the track tools. For regular forces, for the first step taken, the tools are removed from the large toolboxes normally spaced along with the right-of-way of the worker conveniency. The track tools should be safeguarded more than zealously for the monetary and salvageable value warrants. The roadbed. Unless opposing forces have large stores of explosives on the tool's ability to make the improvised mines and bombs, extensive damage to the ballast and sub-ballast will probably not be attempted. Crews should be alerted of the mines and bombs, which are round-shaped, sharp curves on the bottom of the steep the grades, where their stopping in short distances is made difficult. The absence of quantity of the ballast and dirt is not an easy condition to detect. While the observers are quietly close in the spot, the crew should be watchful for any piles of scattered ballast and dirt along the track in the area that would be not normally found. Track barricades. Barricades thrown across the track may serve many purposes. Small, poorly armed bands may drop trees across the track to bring trains to a halt. Generally, when a train regards a superior number of their arms, for guerrillas were dispersed, leave the crew to remove the blockade. In undeveloped countries, unconventional forces and terrorists block the track with anything available. They will often leave false evidence of the barricade to have been booby-trapped. This makes removal much slower than usual. The guard may consistently alert the carefully because of the terrorists to have the same evidence of the barricades that they did not booby-trap. Right of concealment. In the area with the sniping common with heavy small arms, the fire experience the expected brush and green growth along the right of the way should be cut back as far as possible, at least 20 feet on each side. Use a chemical to kill the jungle growth that serves as any of the concealment. Concealment is important for the small working groups, where the action is light and confined with the sniping of the training of the carrying guards and troops into more made desirable to trap the guerrillas. Bridges and trestles are naturally vulnerable until repaired. The destruction can stop all movements. Irregular force may not be interested in total destruction of such important rail facilities. Their primary mission may be delayed pillage to try to prevent a certain type of cargo reaching their destination. The same train may be carrying the freight important to the ultimate goal or the causes. The average political military group of the country will be limited to its rail network. Wants to achieve its goal without destroying the transportation facilities. Bridges and high embankments are an excellent point for training, wrecking, and derailing. Bridges and often spans of the river and deep ravines. Their efforts are often made by the derailing train near the points of the hope that may be part of will topple the ground into the river below. In many of the prove profitable to keep the guard force in areas where the simple derailments may have serious results. 315 rail lines are running through the deep rock cuts offer good transportation good targets. Deep rock cuts are often good targets. The lack of operating space along with the sheer cliffs make cleaning up the wreck slow and extremely difficult. 316. This is great possibility of derailment when there are many bridges high embankments. The engine must be prepared to stop immediately upon the derailment. On method that has been tried to the mounting of a white disc on each of the corner of the foremost buffering car. The engineer wants to distance this constantly with any noticeable movement. The movement denotes the derailment with the applied promptly. Another method is one of the causes brakes to be applied. Independent engines actions as soon as the derailment occurs. A method of doing is bringing the pipe back down to the wheels 2-3 inches above the ground, with a glass tube installed in the line. When the wheels are leading the car leaving the track, the glass tube drops down and brakes to the air. Brakes are applied. Wayside communication facilities. Telephone. Utility poles line off the target to disrupting the communication. Since these facilities are easily sabotaged, it must be critical to the LOC option. If the radio communication is not available, trains can be dispatched with reasonable safety and expediency of using manual block operations. When an attempt is made to keep the lines open, the enemy forces can often cut the wire faster when then the brakes can be repaired. The cut must be also made for the sole purpose of attacking the repair crews for the tools and the weapons when they arrive at the repair brakes. Arms escorts should be usually accompanying the rail personnel. Wayside signals. Wayside signals are same category of communication when it comes to tampering with the guerrilla with switching electrical lids with a casual signal to display the false aspect of the display. Aspect of the mainline track and switches should not be depending on completely. It's relatively simple matter that to turn the lamp of the reserve the roundels display the false aspect. Switch points should also be observed to make sure that they agree to the aspects displayed. If it's doubtful with the electrical signals should be relied on the rail unit of the guerrilla infested territory. Hand signals. Railroad crews moving along with the main track also on the alert of the hand signals displayed on the track ahead. Open the station will display a stop or a proceed signal depending on whether or not the station has any orders or instructions for the crew. When operating with the diverse territory, the hand of the signals observed with the stations are regarded with suspicion. Red flares or fuses with violently across the track as a universal stop sign. Opposing forces in possession of fuses and red lanterns can stop the trains as little efforts. The only countermeasure to using against authorized signals is to specifically expect the manner in a signal as to be given. The average non-railroader usually holds a fuse at the arm's length and waves it over his head as in a half circle. A railroader swings it across the knees in the lower half of the circle. In a lower half circle. There are many signal combinations that can be worked out, and they should be classified, coded, and changed daily or necessary. False reporting. Because the train must be reported by each of the station passes, the precaution must be taken against the guerrillas cutting off the dispatcher telephone circuit reporting the false information. Although the dispatcher may not be recognizing all the voices in the head vision, he must also call a station back and verify the report. Such tactics can be overcome by using the COI and the ComSec procedure shall be used at all times. Training operations. Operations division experiencing frequent disruption in supply passenger transportation must change in the aims tactics opposing forces. Trains should be operated in irregular intervals in areas such as guerrilla warfare. Trains should not be moved in the schedule or use the traffic planners that can be anticipated. In logistic consideration permit, all movements should be made in the daily of the several freight supply trains running close together, random intervals with mutual protection. At night, frequent improving roving patrols. Army trains should be moving over the lines irregular intervals of preventing sabotage of the tracks of supposed structures. If the regular forcers know that the expects of the trains can operate efficiently against the railroad with very little interruption. In convenient war, the operation passenger trains continue with the military use of diminishing the civil use of if and the common can be done without disrupting the economy. 322 precautions. Depending on tacticals and aggressors, special precautions must be taken for the passenger train operations. With irregular forces well organized, well armed, countermeasures may be similar to those conventional warfare. If the passenger trains are kept in operation, then it may be necessary to install steel plates over the window of the pile of sandbags onto the bottom of the windows. Cover the windows with steel mesh wire to prevent the grenades from being thrown into the cars. Doors are closed, secured to prevent the guerrillas from boarding. When the track of the torn bridge is blown, the train should be back away if time conditions permit. When enough motive power is available, the locomotive operated in the rear train is used to pull undamaged portions of the train back to safety with the locomotive cars from the front end of the derailed. The troop trains may carry supply ammunition, grenades for the crew, passengers to use in case of attack. Locomotives and train guards will equipped with a fire extinguisher, first aid kits. The secure objective is to save the personnel, equipment, and the capture of damage from capture and damage and destruction. A pilot inspection train. 323. Conditions may require operational pilot training to travel over the section of the track a short time ahead of the following train. The train may be operated with the pilot train as an escort of the troop supply train as or a security patrol train to prevent sabotage. A pilot train running the interface with the troop of the supply train moves as hard ahead as a short distance feasible, safe, and consistent with the operating orders of the rail. The train will move 2 to 5 minutes ahead of the second train. After the pilot train passes, the guerrillas do not have enough time to obstruct the track and remove the rail spike of the switch and so forth before the train then they seek the derail has passed. The pilot train must consistently combination of the rolling stock. For night operations, the lead car can be rigged with a headlight powered with a locomotive generator. This car may be partially armored with a boilerplate steel and carry a small machine gun or a rifle crew to the protection against the small guerrilla groups or wayside snipers. Additional cars similarly equipped with the man may be pulled behind, carrying enough troops to guard protection against any attacks of the train if stopped. Depending on the firepower of the opposing forces, armors, plates, and installed with the locomotive to protect the cab crew, planting and all necessary to cover the key acts, auxiliary streamers along with the power plant area of the diesels. Trains could be quite heavy. The locomotive may also have 2 cars attached To the front, the cars should be heavy loaded with anything that provides anything of the weight to explode a buried mine or test the stability of the tractor railing before the locomotive reaches the spot. If the pilot train can safely pass over the given track section, an ordinary train shall be able to pass safely. If useless of the have individual light engages engines acts as a pilot train. The mighty safety pass over the track have been tampered, but the train or more of the weight would be derailed. If the delayed, remote controlled mines are used, the patrol may be increased, but denying the opposing the forces the opportunity of employment. Emergency supply and equipment. Aside the necessary weapons of first aid of the equipment of the locomotives with the full set of the track tools, additional normally carried with the emergency repairs. Track fastening, spikes, racks, sledges, crowbars, even a limited number of the ties of rail may be needed. Engine training of the crew's security guards aboard the train shall have flare pistol firing signal indicating the authorized stop and attack. Train crew safe security guard patrols may be furnished with portable telephones, may be hooked and wired to the lines again along the track and report the derailments, location, interruptions, similar information while the equipment is available, whether the conditions permanent of the railway. Personal guards may be equipped with railroad radios, telephones, for a similar purpose. The communication between the engine man training the crew at the rear. Do not place the car containing the explosive flammable materials next to the locomotive containers containing troops or guards. Fire directed toward personnel might explode or set fire to the hazardous material. Armored trains and cars. The tempo may change, but the sniping, wrecking, and the pilferage is organized with the heavy firepower with the enemy forces irregularly increased to the possessing large stores. The ammunition, explosive, heavy armor may be installed, but the pilot trains the crew to improvise gondola-mounted guns in change for the armored tank-like structure mounted on the flat cars. They can often be made by 1.5-inch plates, or firing slots must be used, provided with the revolving search lights fitted in the roof. Armored trains. An armored train consists of specially armored cars, flat cars, gondolas with tanks secured on them. The tanks are particularly effective because they are movability turrets and large caliber guns give the long range protection in all directions. When they equip the flame-throwing device, tanks are very effective in searing growth, and that they may be used in hiding places along with the right-of-way. Boilerplate seals, boxes, turrets installed with the flat cars, providing the armor of the trucks and the guns crewed. The turrets may be routed to end of the rigid in the fire, sliding the gun ports and swivel lights, reinforcing locomotive cabins of the armor plate thick enough to withstand a machine gun or rifle fire. Cover the locomotive windows with steel shutters to protect the engine men from permit visibility. Self-propelled armored cars may be used in piloting and patrolling. They can be used in pairs of one may assist in the event of the attack of the derailment. They are relatively light, easily railed, light cranes and re-railers. They can also be moved on the side of the right-of-way with the serious disabled. They are short, required of the clear line of the lightweight cars. After the derailment is lower than the locomotive have been derailed. When self-propelled cars are wrecked or left unguarded, the guns or at least to the breech of the locks must be removed. In some areas, the undeclared war is being fought, and local government militia constabulary be taught to operate a self-propelled track equipment. However, they must be first given the detailed instruction about the rules and roads. Like other ruling rail operation personnel, they must be given a periodic examination, refresher instruction. Derail detection devices. Unconventional forces of the rig of the track explosive devices permanent with the armored pilot to pass the unharmed, the hope of the wrecking of the valuable train. One of the two idler cars, while may not be armed and equipped to describe, should be passed at the front of the locomotive derailment, often leading the car. The warn of the engine crew the often permits the car or action leading of the track equipped with the spring Pollinger device, the starting automatic brake application in the case of the derailment. 329 countermeasures. With extensive unconventional precaution countermeasures against the attacks on the rail facilities may be optional, only partially successful. Such an operation may reach such proportions of the only particular defense would be to expel them from the area. Counter-guerrilla tactical operations may be necessary. Dental of food supplies, occupational areas, harboring, assisting, and even the resettling of the communities to forfeited centers may be required. The host nation employees around the shop terminals could be sabotage equipment and should be carefully screened. Deception. Two forms of deception are used for deceiving the enemy. The first, deceiving the enemy, is about intention. The second, preventing the enemy from attaining intelligence. A number of methods may be used to deny the enemy intelligence. Camouflage and concealment make camouflage loads appear to the non-military, break the pattern of the loads of the use of the netting. Smoke. Smoke may be used to obscure the enemy vision. However, there should be should not obscure the visibility of the train crew. Only the use of smoke is everything that has a failed. When possible, conduct the rail operation during the period of darkness, and when possible, conduct rail operations during periods of darkness, fog, and further reduce enemy observation. Schedule departments and arrivals. Treat the great extent possible. Do not use schedules in rail transportation. And establish route within established routine that would give the enemy an added advantage. Scheduled departure time should also be encoded with the transmission minimum number of personnel allowed with access to the information. Routing. If possible, if parallel lines exist, vary the routes of the train will operate with the theater. There should not be any set pattern enemy that may use their advantage. Operations in the nuclear biological environment. The conduct of the train operation, the NBC environmental, according with the Doctrine Field Manual 3100, conduct the NBC operation, same with the other type of the unit's exemption of the operations which degrade the personal standing of the rail rather than the equipment standpoint. Two toxic chemicals have little effect with motive power in the rolling stock. However, the nuclear detonation, depending on its proximity, might detail and motive in rolling stock and damage equipment and such components such as brake hoses, communication equipment. Equipment may be transported railed by having decontaminated. Decontamination depends on the equipment is transported close and on top the rails. This decontamination will have to be done in the nearest yard of the loading facility. Due to the size of equipment being used to perform the decontamination, spraying of the rail cars with water. 338 train crews must don protective gear. Stay under the locomotive cab during the train operations of the NBC attack when crossing a contaminated area. Rear operations assist with providing the freedom of the information, continually operational logistics base, battle command. The primary purpose of staying enclosed in deep flights of the posture force of the future operations. Rail operations can be targets of the enemy deep attack. General protective measures. Security measures of the railway operation determine the situation of the AO. These measures may include the following: the route reassistance of the Army aircraft, occupational criteria, terrain features, use of special observation cars, placing the locomotive midsection of the train, reducing the damage in the event of the sabotage, using 2-3 gondolas filled with rock and sand, other ballast in front of the engine to absorb the mine detonation effects, using empty and decoy training to head the critical shipment, using escort scout trains to patrol the right of way, special armed regards, placing mobile maintenance trains in the strategic location of the route, moving the train's movement to the highest safety speed through the areas with guerrilla and partisan forces are active, consolidation trains to ensure the most economical use of the available air cover, placing security patrols along with the length of the time to be traversed. Rear area operations. Rear area operations. An AROC, a rear area operations center, is provided with each support group of the brigade within the theater operation. The rear area operations center keeps the commander information of the RAS and the ADC situation in his area. The resources available to cope with the emergency that represent the planning capability. The commander perform the command and the control over the forces designated by the ARP missions. The rail elements located within the movement of the rail area operation center areas of responsibility. Rail op units and the men normally have the communications with and when maintained in support of the rear area operation center. Rail units maintain the communications with the rear area operation center through area of the communication system. The Rear Area Operations Center provides these units with current information of the following: security forces, artillery, aviation support, weather training, intelligence, data location, level of chemical, biological, radiological contamination, ADC, explosive ordnance disposal supports, medical emergency repair, and other support facilities. Those American forces operating in NATO will comply with the procedures set forth in the A Move P2. Chapter 4, Rail Dispatching and Procedures.